r/Nosleep. Posted by Goodwin 1990. The police wheeled a corpse into the morgue I work at. The journal in its pocket told a horrifying tale. Okay, let me just say right off the bat, that I won't be telling you my name or the city in which I work. Just by posting this, I'm surely breaking more than a few laws which would not only lead to dismissal from my job, but also jail time. It's why I'm choosing to post this here, among all the other stories, which I hope will keep any electronic trail from leading back to me. What I will tell you is that I work as a coroner, and the city I work in is large enough that our morgue regularly receives bodies for examination to determine the cause of death. I've been in this profession since I was 23 years old, and in the last decade and a half, I've seen things that would likely give normal people nightmares. Murder victims, mangled bodies from car accidents and bloated ones who've drowned. In most cases, I've long since grown desensitized to the horrific and morbid things that human beings can inflict on each other or themselves. You have to, in order to make a living in this profession. At least, I thought I had. You see, a few days ago, as I was finishing an autopsy on a John Doe and preparing to finish my shift, a new body was wheeled into the morgue by the police. It was a tall, Caucasian man that, according to the records, had been in his late 20s. I vaguely noticed that his hoodie and pants displayed the reddish stains of blood covering them, as were his shoes. Reading further, I saw he'd been some wealthy, hotshot brainiac working in the tech industry. From initial appearances, and aside from the dark circles under his eyes, he'd seemed perfectly healthy at the time of death, with well-kept skin and hair, and white as porcelain teeth. At first, it wasn't clearly apparent what had killed him. That was, until we pulled his clothes off. I'm not exaggerating when I say that the front of the man's body was covered with deep, ragged stab wounds. There were so many, clustered so close together over every limb and extremity under his shirt and pants, that if either myself or my assistant had trypophobia, neither one of us would have been able to proceed with the initial examination. Even still, the sight of such savagery stirred something deep inside me, a sense of discomfort I haven't felt in a long time. The only way I can aptly describe it, is that it looked like the entire Manson family had gone to town on him in an insane rage. And to make it worse, the police report stated that, for all appearances, the wounds had been self-inflicted. As I found out later from a buddy of mine on the force, concerned neighbors have called it in, reporting of the most blood-curdling screams emanating from his residence. As if he were being tortured in the worst way. Turning the body over, we didn't find any more wounds on his back or buttocks. However, we did find something rather odd. All over his back and the remaining areas of his arms and legs that were untouched were small, raised red blisters. Matthew, my assistant, stated that he thought they were what appeared to be insect bites. I wasn't so sure, saying that they could be anything from that to body acne, and didn't need to be logged. At the time, I simply shrugged it off as inapplicable for my report. This has nothing to do with the ultimate cause of death, I thought. And honestly, that would have been the end of it, an unusually macabre footnote in my career to file away and forget. Until we discovered the journal. When we cut off the man's hoodie and peeled it off, something fell from it to the floor with a soft thunk. Crouching down, I saw it was a small, leather-bound book, roughly the size of one of those old appointment books. Picking it up, I realized it was a pocket journal. Thinking nothing more of it, I dropped it on an empty tray to be catalogued along with the rest of his personal effects. As I did, I suddenly heard Matt let out a cry. When I asked him what the matter was, he said that an ant had crawled across his hand from somewhere, disappearing before he could kill it. Again, I shrugged it off. But, for whatever reason, after he and I had stored the body in a freezer for autopsy at a later date, and I sat alone at my desk finishing up the reports, I found that I couldn't shake the images from my mind. Something kept tugging at it, like a child on a loose thread. And so, I did something I never have before. I opened the bag of the man's effects, pulling the journal from it, and after sparing a glance around at the darkroom, opened it. I'll regret that decision for the rest of my life. Most of the journal was your standard schlock. But, the final few entries were something else entirely. I'm as logical and rational a man as you can get. My mind, even now, is fighting desperately with itself. Telling me that the man must have either had an untreated mental illness, or suffered a mental break from stress due to work or personal drama. But part of me can't help but wonder if there's even a grain of truth to it. Wonder what I'll find when I open up the body for autopsy. And if there is, if it's true, I don't know if I'll ever be able to sleep peacefully again. February 29, 2024. I finished up my latest project today, well ahead of schedule. The company doesn't expect the security program until March 12th, which means for the next week or so, I'll have some free time to catch up on personal projects and family. Mom and Dad have been kept waiting for far too long, and I promised them a weekend trip to the sea. Likewise, Erica is probably fuming that I had to miss our anniversary dinner the other night. I feel like utter crap from having to call at the last minute, but I hope the surprise vacation to Aruba I have planned for this summer will more than make up for it. After all, I'm working myself to the bone not just for myself, but for her as well. All this money I'm making and saving isn't just for me to spend all willy-nilly. It's for our future together. I love the woman more than I can express, even to myself, and I want to spend the rest of my life with her. That includes children, eventually. And God willing, they will not grow up in poverty like my sister and I had to. Took a trip over to Home Depot with the truck as well to purchase a few more 2x4s. The draft in the house from the combination of peeled siding and what appears to be a termite infestation has finally gotten me on my last nerve. I'm sick of having to crank the heat up every night to keep from shivering, even under the sheets. If the stress from work doesn't end up killing me, the electric bill will. I'll use this coming weekend to get them up and knock it off my fix-it list. One last thing, by the way. This entire weekend, aside from almost receiving a heart attack from a rather large wolf spider hiding in the basement, I haven't really seen any insects or rodents in the house all winter. But I guess spring must already be bringing them out, because as I was sitting at my computer desk, a large black ant crawled across my screen. Almost exactly in the same manner as the joke screensaver I used to have on my old Compaq to disgust my sister. I ended up crushing it with my thumb before dropping it in the trash. I'm making note of this so that I'll remember when I go back to the store to purchase some radon ant traps. I don't feel like dealing with these suckers all spring and summer. March 4, 2024. Decided to start on the next project early in order to knock out an extra week of recreation. I was correct in my assumption that Erica was beyond pissed, as when I knocked on her friend's door the other day after she didn't come home, I was greeted by a splash of cold coffee to the face. After explaining my predicament, though, she apologized, and we made plans to go to the opera next Friday. God knows, I can understand her anger, though. 3 years together, and while we are happy, I can tell she expected a ring by now. So have my parents and hers. Well, after our summer vacation, all of them will have it. But that's just our little secret for now, journal. In the meantime, this new security program, which Brad says is for some big Silicon Valley company, is going to take all of my knowledge and skill to code to their standards. The one upside is the commission I'll be making from it. Safe to say we won't have to worry about paying the bills for quite a while. Got the boards on the side of the house over the weekend without much fuss, either. At least, unless you count accidentally hitting your thumb with the hammer instead of the nail fuss. It hurts like hell, but I'll live. Ice packs are helping. It was worth it, though. Last night was the first night in a long time I didn't have to have my thermostat cranked up to 80 in a while. I slept like a friggin' baby, to say the least. There's some more repairs to do around the house, including a leaky sink that I'd told Erica I would fix over a week ago. She told me to just call a plumber. Erica, sweetheart, I said to her, I grew up with a father who was a plumber. I'll be damned if anyone but myself fixes it happily. I won't have to try and explain why I'm just getting around to it, though. Because thankfully, she'll be out of town for a few weeks, as her older sister is getting married, and her and a few of her friends are flying out to California tomorrow. And according to her, she won't be back until April 7th. That'll give me the time to take care of it. A bit of an update on the ant situation, though. I went out and bought the spray and traps like I said I would. I've set them all about the house in hopes they'll be attracted to them like catnip to a cat. But, it seems not all are immediately going for them. As I was sitting on the couch watching a movie, I felt a pinch on the side of my foot. Lifting it up, I found another one of those damn pests attempting to bite me again. As soon as it realized it had been spotted, it tried to scurry away, but I was quicker and slapped it. As soon as it hit the wooden floor, I snatched a tissue from the container on the coffee table and grabbed it, crushing it between my thumb and fingers. That'll teach the little son of a bitch to bite me. Erica keeps telling me that I need to keep food off the tables and desks to keep from attracting them. I think from now on, I'll listen to her. Because I can't stop scratching where it bit me. March 7, 2024. Okay, normally I talk about a variety of topics in my journal entries, but even with the bit of struggling I'm having with my project, I have to make a single entry about this issue. Where in the hell are all these ants coming from? I swear to God, I've lived in this house for close to 6 years now, and in that time, I've rarely had to deal with insects. Unlike the cramped, dirty-ass apartment in downtown I had to live in when I was just starting out after college, contending with cockroaches in the walls and crawling over cereal boxes. This place has been a venerable utopia of cleanliness. Even though I'm a little messy, it never was enough to attract anything. But I guess that's changed for whatever reason, because today, I found not one, not two, not even five, but 7 of the suckers scurrying across the kitchen countertop. All in a line, like a formation of soldiers, led by the largest one I've ever seen. I snatched the can of Raid from under the sink and let loose with it. I got the big one and one behind it, but the rest seemed to have more sense than others I've seen and scattered out of sight. I've set down the remaining traps in every conceivable place I can think of they could emerge, in hopes it'll catch these little bastards. If they fail, I'll have no choice but to call an exterminator. Because I really don't want Erica to come home to this mess. I'm also going to double-check the repairs I made to the outside of the house to see if I left any gaps in which anything could come through. I fully admit I'm a little too stubborn in wanting to do things myself. Hopefully I haven't botched it up. But, that'll be for another day. For now, I'm going to try and get some much-needed sleep. Lots of work I need to pour into the project the next few days. March 10, 2024. Another week finished up. Honestly, journal, I feel beyond exhausted. I've sat at my computer for up to 11 hours the last few days, trying as hard as I can to work through the coding and setup of this security program. This is far and above the most complex, intricate, advanced program I've ever had to design, and the specifications are so specific that I've had to put feelers out to others for help. Something I'm not used to or happy doing. I pride myself on being able to work alone and get shit done. It's the reason why so many companies ask for my consultation and program development specifically. I've gotten where I am by being one of the best, and like hell I'm going to ruin my reputation by falling behind. I know it's not the best thing physically for me, but I'll make up for it once I'm done by promptly getting to bed on time. Erica called from Sonoma Valley on Saturday. Apparently, the wedding's been delayed for a few days due to some catering issues, which hasn't made anyone happy in the least. I was originally bummed that I wasn't able to go with her due to work. But after this news, as much as I wanted to tour the vineyards, I think I dodged a bullet. Nothing's worse or more dangerous than a group of irritated women with a large supply of alcohol. Trust me, I learned that in college the hard way. Still, it was good to hear her voice. I checked the outside of the house on Saturday as well. Happily, there doesn't seem to be any panel gaps large enough for anything to sneak through. The boards are holding well, as is the slightly rushed paint job I plastered over them. Who says amateur carpenters can't do a halfway decent job? Another happy item to report as well, is that I haven't seen a single ant since that large group on the counter. Even though I know they're nothing more than mindless, stupid insects, part of me imagines that the survivors told the tale of what I did to their friends and have rightly decided to avoid me like the plague. Even still, I bought a new batch of traps, just in case. Hopefully I won't need to use them. March 12, 2024. Damn it. You stupid moron, Charlie. What did Mom tell you about not sticking your foot in your mouth and jinxing yourself? I passed out on the couch last night watching a marathon of the old Wolfman flicks on VHS. Truth be told, I only made it to the second one before the Sandman took me. I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of static coming from my TV and snow on the screen, at what the digital alarm clock on top of it proclaimed was 3 a.m. At first, I thought the sound was what had woken me up, and reached for the remote, shutting it off and plunging the room into darkness and silence. I turned over on my side, trying to get comfortable again. That's when I felt it, the eerie sensation of something, not just one, but many things creepy crawling over my body made me instantly leap up. In the dark, I couldn't see anything, and when I snapped the lamp on, there was nothing there. But my body continued to itch, and was soon joined by a burning sensation. I rushed to the bathroom and pulled my shirt off. Journal, I'm not kidding you when I say that I was dotted with red bites. At least a dozen or more, over not just my chest, but my arms and legs as well. I felt thankful that nothing was on my face or neck, but the consolation didn't help much. The itching was still there, and I jumped straight into the shower and stood under the hot water for what had to be 15 minutes. Eventually, the itching and burning stopped, and I got out and dragged my ass to the bed. I can't stop thinking about how creepy the sensation of things I couldn't see crawling on me was, though. It was the most unnatural, violating sensation I've ever experienced. I think I'm going to swallow my pride and just call an exterminator tomorrow. Not only is this squarely out of my wheelhouse, but with the stress from work, I can't deal with this shit. So I'm taking care of this now. March 13, 2024. The exterminator came today. And I swear to God, even though he and his company swear up and down that he's a pro, they both must be bullshitting not only me, but every single one of their customers. Oh, sure, when he first arrived promptly at 1 in the afternoon, he seemed on the up and up. He even expressed sympathy when I told him of my experience the other night. I've dealt with that before in my own home myself, sir, he said with a pat on my shoulder, and it is not fun in the least. Give me a little bit, and I'll make sure you don't have to deal with them for a while, at least. And with that, he set off into the house with a tank of something hooked to his back. I thought nothing more of it as I sat down in my computer room and returned to work, downing an energy drink to stay awake. I'm currently only a quarter way through the program, as I received an update email from Brett, telling me that the company found a leak in their old security program, and wants additional safeguards in their new one that hadn't originally been requested. I had to throw everything out I'd already done and start again. Which means more long hours in front of the screen. But as I continued to string the lines of code together and review my notes, a knock came on my office door. I turned to see the exterminator staring at me with a scowl on his face. "Are you wasting my time, sir?" he asked gruffly. I felt a wave of confusion wash over me as I asked what he meant. There's no sign of any ant colony or activity anywhere in this house. I've sprayed the known areas, anyway, but I've seen neither hide nor hair of them. And on top of that, all of your traps are empty. My jaw dropped open at his words, feeling disbelief fill me, but the man led me to each trap to show me. Sure enough, they were indeed all empty. I began to get irritated by the scowl that continued to stay on his face and hiked up my shirt, turning for him to see the still red bumps dotting my back. "What the hell is this, then, my imagination?" I asked. He stared at it for a moment before shrugging. "Maybe that's just back acne. Or maybe you're having a reaction to the laundry detergent you're using. Happened to my kid brother and made him itch for weeks until he discovered the cause. Hell, maybe it's psychosomatic, in your head. All I know is there aren't any ants in here. Now, good day to you." And with that, he turned and left, leaving me staring after him with a rising wave of anger. Acne or psycho whatever, my ass. I know what I know. Like hell I'll be calling them again. March 15, 2024. Again. For the third straight night, I woke up to that hated itching and burning feeling all over my body. I don't know how, but the little fuckers managed to climb the stairs and find my bedroom. The clock on my nightstand said it was 2:30 when a bite on my neck tore me from my sleep. I slapped wildly at myself in the dark, and when I brought my fingers back to my nose, I smelled the trademark scent of them. That horrible, raid-like smell they give off to warn the others. However, when I snapped on the light, just like before, they weren't there. But I know I wasn't imagining it, because when I looked in Erica's vanity mirror, I saw that I was now covered with even more angry, red bumps that itched something fierce. Again, I jumped in the shower, then spread a bit of cortisone over the bites, which seemed to help. After, I chose to try and sleep in the guest room instead. I think I got roughly 3.5 hours more rest on top of the 2 I already had. I honestly feel like complete shit today. My head aches from staring at the computer screen for so long, and to make matters worse, Brad told me those Silicon Valley douchebags may ask me to change the code again, in order to install a backdoor program for their own benefit. If he's right, it'll be the second time I've had to restart writing millions of lines of code. And I am not looking forward to that in the slightest. Erica texted me earlier, asking how I was. I didn't want to worry her, so I lied, saying that I was doing alright and hoped she was having a good time. She doesn't need to be concerned about me. Erica, sweetheart. You want to know the truth? I wish I'd just told the company to stuff it and gone to California with you. March 19, 2024. I need to sleep. I've gotten such little sleep that I'm beginning to have waking nightmares, the kind my psychiatrist uncle used to warn me about as a kid. I must have dozed off in front of the computer, because when I raised my head, my desk and computer were covered with ants. Black and red, large and small, hundreds of them. I remember, in the dream, shooting to my feet in disgust and irritation, before sweeping a hand towards them in a threatening manner, as if I were about to crush them. But not a single one of them moved. They all just stood there, facing in my direction. Even though their eyes were too small to see, I got the feeling they were all staring at me. And they hated me. I can't explain why I felt it, I just knew. Like when you stand in front of a fire and can feel the heat radiating away from it. Their hatred for me radiated out at me. And all of a sudden, I began to feel extremely afraid. I know that's beyond ridiculous, being afraid of freaking insects, but I couldn't help it. I was terrified, and I began to back out of the room. And that's when they came for me. moving faster than I've seen anything move in my life. They swarmed towards me, looking like something out of a 70s horror movie, and I stumbled back over my footstool, falling into my recliner and I woke up. I woke to find myself in my recliner, the computer still on and displaying the line of code I'd been writing. And nothing else. The room was empty. For a moment, I simply stared around, then began to scratch myself as what I can only describe as a phantom sensation ran over my body. I shut off the computer, and I'm currently lying in the guest bed writing this. God help me. I need to sleep. March 24, 2024. I saw them. I knew they were fucking real, and I finally saw them. Like all the nights before, I was woken up in the middle of the night by the itching and burning. This time, I snapped the light on immediately, then leapt out of bed. I was covered in the fuckers. There had to be at least a dozen or more of them moving over my body, digging their pincers into my skin and causing me to begin flailing at myself. As soon as I felt that they were all off, I began stomping on the carpet like a madman. I felt so many squish under my feet, though I saw many more scarper away into the shadows. I quickly gathered the dead ones up with paper towels and threw them in the garbage can outside. I honestly feel beyond giddy at my victory. I may not have gotten all you little suckers, but I dealt you a blow. And to top it off, I dashed downstairs, and admittedly, half delirious, I grabbed both cans of Raid and sprayed every single surface I can possibly think of. The entire house smells horrible, but I refuse to open a window. I'll deal with the smell, as long as it suffocates and kills these little bastards. Now, I'm going to try and sleep again. I need to finish the security program tomorrow, for the deadline at the end of the month. March 26, 2024. The spray did nothing. When I woke up the next morning, I felt like every inch of my body was on fire. And when I threw my sheets back, it was to find my entire body covered with bite marks and red bumps. Even in places that, I'd rather not say, even if I'm the only person who will read this. Between the itching and the smell, I feel like I'm losing my mind. I wish I was. That'd be better than this, torment by these things. I tried looking up online to see if any insects have the intelligence to hold grudges, to hate. All of them say no. So, why are they doing this? What did I do to them to get this? I never bothered any fucking insect before as long as it didn't come in my house and bother me. Why can't nature just go take a flying fuck at the moon? Jesus, look at me, I'm ranting in my journal at fucking insects. I need to get out of here for a day or so. Maybe find a motel room and crash there. Sleep is what I need. I need to sleep, and I'll be okay. March 27, 2024. They followed me to the motel. I woke up itching and hurting. They were biting me. Leaving did nothing. Itchy. It's all fucking itchy. Itchy all the time. I want to sleep so badly. But I can't. March 29, 2024. They're inside me. I finally figured out why I can't escape them. Why I always itch now. I came back to the house that same day I woke up to them biting me. I basically just gave up. Fuck it. Whatever. You damned shitheels win. I thought that was the worst it could possibly get. Good God, I was so wrong. I tried to take my mind off of things, off the ever-present itch and stinging sensations by working. I sat in front of my computer for hours, trying to type. But I couldn't get one single line of code. My mind couldn't concentrate. It felt like trying to focus through a thick fog. And my thoughts seemed weird, jumbled, almost like they weren't my own. That's when I felt something begin to itch and burn in my right eye. It got so bad that I stood up and moved to the floor-to-ceiling mirror to have a better look at it. The itching became worse as I moved in close to the mirror, aiming my gaze at my eye socket. And it fucking crawled out of it. It pushed away the skin to make a hole and stepped out onto my actual eye. I could see it, blurred as it was. And I could feel its disgusting legs as it crept across. I stood there in shock. Shock and horror. I'd heard stories of insects getting inside of people before, but I never thought I'd experience it myself. A small part of me screamed to flick it off. But before I had a chance to move, I felt a searing pain as it jammed its pincers into my eyeball. I clamped my hand to my face, covering the eye and blinking rapidly as I attempted to get the beast off of me. I still don't know whether I succeeded or not. Because the next thing I remember, is doubling over as I felt pain tear through my insides. It felt like all my veins, all my organs, even the very fiber of my being was being bitten by 1,000 tiny jaws. I fell to the floor in a ball, unable to even whimper due to the pain. That's when the pain suddenly turned to the now familiar and hated itch. I felt it, not on my skin, but inside. That's when the horrific realization hit me. The nightmare I'd had that day. Of being swarmed by a literal army of ants, filled with a hatred of me that scientists said was impossible. It hadn't been a nightmare. It had been real. Horrifyingly, disgustingly real. And when I had fallen unconscious, they took advantage of the moment. They crawled inside of me. And created a colony. A living, breathing human colony. They want me to suffer. Even if they can't speak, I know that. I can feel the anger and hatred burning from inside myself. They bite and walk inside of me, filling me with pain and irritation the likes I've never felt before. And that's not the worst part. I can feel them moving up. Moving to my head. To my brain. I can't take it anymore. I've torn at my arms, legs and stomach all day, trying to rip them out. But my fingernails aren't enough. And it just makes them bite and scratch more. So I'm going to do the only thing I can to get them out of me. I know what it'll mean for me. But I refuse to let the fuckers win. They won't eat me alive. I'm going to take a knife and tear every single one of them I can out. You hear me, you fuckers? I'm going to be the one to have the last laugh. I'm going to finish this on my terms, not yours. Please, I ask only one thing. Whoever finds this, don't let Erica see me. Don't let her see what I had to do to get them out of me. I'm sorry.